So funny that it's so similar to politics, which is you can't trust either half fully. You have when the argument is like peptides are all bad.
Right.
It's like Trump is all evil, or the Democrats are all evil, and it's like you have to read both sides because nobody tells you the full truth.
Oh.
They only want to forward their narrative, and it sounds like it's the same thing in medicine as it is in politics.
It is. I mean, as a research scientist and friends with many, many physician scientists and physicians, I do think, at least at Stanford, all physicians and scientists, I do believe, want to solve problems correctly and provide good for the world.
Stanford seems like it's a super woke place.
No.
Stanford?
We have we have the Hoover folks, right? I mean, that's like a libertarian think tank, basically.
Oh, is that
Condi Rice runs it, I believe.
Is that at Stanford?
Yeah, it's at Stanford. The big tower. The tower.
I'm not.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm not that familiar with the campus.
No, I would say Stanford, on balance, is very balanced.
Because I read somewhere, like this is going back, sort of peak woke time 5 years ago or something, that they had 10,000 administrators.
It's a big place. It's got its own zip code,
Okay, but it just seems like that's all. We're not talking about professors, and we're not talking about students. We're talking about bureaucrats, kind of.
But there is a hospital, a children's hospital. I mean, it's one of the most modern. And look,
all right, maybe again,
I have this podcast.
I don't trust anything until I get both sides of the story.
Sure.
I'm just saying I read that, and that I concede right away. That is forwarding somebody's narrative that elite colleges are out of control, which, by the way, I do think there is absolute truth in that. What's the other side of it? Well, there's another side of it, too.
Yeah.
So I'm anxious to hear you tell me.
Yes.
Maybe we need 10,000. Maybe they do need 10,000 administrators at Stanford.
Well, with the caveat that I can already hear the voices saying, oh, he's just trying to protect his job. Look, I'm tenured. Jay kept his job during the pandemic.
You're a celebrity now. You can't be fired.
Yeah, I mean, I have this other gig, so I'm comfortable.
No, you can't be fired.
So, but I will tell you, I'll give you the positives, I'll give you the negatives. I'll be real direct with you. I've been many places in my academic career, and I will tell you that while there are many other excellent places, there are very, very few, if any, places in the world where you find people who are just absolutely focused on bringing their science, which often impacts healthcare, to the next level with the utmost degree of rigor. My colleagues are amazing. I'm telling you. I mean, I've got colleagues like Carl Deisseroth who developed ways to image and modify cellular activity across the board. Everything from humans, rat, cat, monkey, bat for research purposes. People who were blind are seeing again as a consequence of that work. I've got colleagues building artificial retinas. I've got colleagues who are figuring out in the psychology department that are really parsing this notion of like Ali Crum, mindsets, which is a setting for the mind, how to navigate stress, not just thinking that stress is going to dissolve you into a puddle of tears, but how to harness stress into performance. She's a D1 athlete, clinical psychologist, and runs a major research lab, and mom, and happily married. I mean, these people are like on a whole other level. Okay, it's also a place where people are very collegial. Now, are there a lot of administrators? Yes. Are there a lot of beautiful lawns and palm trees? Also, yes. But I'll tell you the real strength of Stanford. You know this woman, this freestyle skier who ended up skiing for China in the...
Go.
Yeah, okay. She's Stanford. Okay, I will tell you, the real prize at Stanford is the students, right? Everyone who works there knows that the intellect of the students and the ingenuity of the students is what sets it apart. And again, there are other places. Now, the downside, doing research is very expensive, very expensive. And in the current NIH climate, one of the first things that happened when HHS got revised, and I was very bullish about pushing back on this, is they wanted to cut the indirect costs, the support of the university, not just the labs, to 15% across the country. That would devastate science across the country. Now you could say, oh, well, Stanford's got this massive endowment, it's as big as a country, same with Harvard, why don't they pull from there? Okay, let's just take that argument and say, 15% would take the University of Utah's, which is a fantastic place for biomedical research and many other things, the UT Austins, the Wisconsins, the WashUs, and it would demolish them. Fortunately, that cut didn't happen. And I'm very happy to say, and I take no credit for this, but I've been very vocal on the phone and elsewhere, getting in Jay's ear and other people's ear. You cannot cut the federal budget for research in this country. It fuels companies. It fuels basically the healthcare exploration and development for the entire world. And they just put a 1% increase on the budget. Now, I think that's too small, but the problem that I have with big institutions, rich institutions like Stanford, Harvard, MIT, Caltech, now here's the other piece of it, is that 30% of the indirect money, meaning the additional funds that come from NIH, go to a very small subset of universities across the country for big facilities, genomics facilities, proteomic facilities, which means that the laboratories there have what many people view as a bit of an unfair advantage. Okay, so if we really wanted to equally distribute intellectual growth and we want to equally distribute scientific growth, we would distribute that money more equally across the country. Now, my colleagues at Stanford are going to hate me for saying this, but it's kind of weird, right? I mean, if you're at the University of Colorado Boulder and you're a graduate student, shouldn't you have the opportunity to do the most cutting edge experiments there? And not, just because you're not at Stanford, you shouldn't be hindered. So I think
a lot of the country feels left out.
Yeah, and I think the redistribution of some of these funds would be good.
It would be helpful.
It would be
helpful. A lot of
helpful.
the country feels like all the cool jobs are in a few different places, and they kind of look down on us. And we're not all hicks out here, you know. I think something like this would go a long way. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the University of Boulder is like, but you know, I've been to Boulder. I played the city. It's not a bunch of fucking hicks.
No,
it's very liberal.
Great place.
Very liberal.
Great place. Great science. Yeah. I mean, they had some unfortunate incidents there. I think there was like some sort of pseudo-terrorist attack.
No.
Someone threw a Molotov cocktail or something at some protester. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, Boulder seems like a nice little peaceful town.
I think it was the place where the Batman, he dressed as the Joker or Batman or something. This is like 2013. I remember because I played the city like a couple of months after it was in a theater. It was a shooting. It was a mass
I know what you're
shooting.
trying. That's right. I know what you're referring to.
And
yeah. I think that was I'm thinking of a separate incident, a more recent incident that was related to a public protest.
No, I remember because I donated the proceeds from the weekend in Colorado to that fund.
I know.
It was
there was one at University of Virginia as well.
It would have looked bad not to.
Or Virginia Tech.
But it was.
Yeah, redistribution of resources across the country would be great. And so I talked to Jay about this today, and he said that one of the initiatives is to start creating national centers that get a large percentage of funding so that scientists and people running clinical studies from anywhere in the country can go there and use the state-of-the-art tools to be able to do their experiments anywhere. I think that's a wonderful idea. I think that that's going to ruffle some feathers at some of the, let's say, wealthier institutions. But endowments are are thick at certain places, right? There's a lot of money sitting in the endowments of these places.
No, and as you say, I think it's important for people to know that some of the stuff that, and I agree with you that they shouldn't cut any of this money, it hasn't happened. People come up to me all the time when I'm out, and Bill, what are we going to do? Like their world is coming to an end, which it's not. And I was just saying the Supreme Court stopped the president from his tariff thing. I'm sure you saw that. That was a kind of a big one that the Supreme Court, including two of his appointees, said, no, I'm sorry. We'll give you a lot, but we're not going to give you this. Thousands of cases of local courts have pushed back on detaining immigrants, and the budget that he asked for never got. It's basically the same down the line as it was the year before he took office. So for people who think the sky is falling, it's not quite falling. Yeah. There still is a system that we have it's definitely taking a stress test we've never had before, but it's sort of holding in this way, and this is part of it. Like that money is still there.
Yeah,
this is still America, and we're still,